All right, another spark, another build. And glad you're back to the Forge. Today we're tackling something core to any trading card game, but with a distinct Tools and Titans twist.
We're talking about the discard pile, or as it's known here, the junkyard.
That's right, Tatiana. In many games, the discard pile is just where used cards go, to be forgotten.
But in Tools and Titans, the junkyard is so much more. It's an active zone, a strategic resource, and a place brimming with mechanical and thematic significance.
We're calling this one the Junkyard Engine, T&T's Tactical Graveyard Explained.
Love that title, because it is an engine.
But before we dig into the scrap and salvage, we should lay down the basics. For anyone new to the game or just needing a refresher, how a turn in Tools and Titans actually flows.
Excellent idea, because understanding the life cycle of a card from hand to field to, potentially, the junkyard, starts with the turn itself.
Before we begin, Tatiana, how do you play Tools and Titans?
Easy. Draw your cards.
Charge your energy.
Build your field.
Act with your powers.
Clash with your Titans.
End your turn.
6 steps. 1 epic battle.
Now then, the junkyard. It's not just a place for cards that are done. It's a tactical archive.
Cards are sent there when gameplay mechanics or effects cause them to be removed from play, completed, spent, broken, or, well, junked.
Let's break down those primary triggers. What's the most common way a card finds its way into the junkyard?
That would probably be used weave cards.
These are your powerful one-time effect cards.
Right. So you play a weave card like, say, Verdant Loop to get a quick resource boost, or maybe Fireline Drift to clear out a pesky smaller tool your opponent controls.
Once that effect resolves, BAM. It heads straight to the junkyard.
And strategically, this is key. Many weave cards are designed to fuel synergy engines. Think about mechanics like Echo, where an effect happens again.
Or Flux, which might grant bonuses based on weaves hitting the junkyard. Or even Weave Instability, which could trigger if a certain number of weaves are spent quickly.
So you're not just using an effect, you're often setting up your next play. It's all connected.
Okay. What's next on the list of junkyard feeders?
Destroyed tools.
Tools are your equipment, your gadgets, the items your Titans wield or that augment your strategy.
They end up in the junkyard if they're CP-.
That's craft power. Think of it like health reaches 0 due to damage, or if they're targeted by specific destruction effects. Cards like Forged Blow that might shatter an opponent's tool, or Melt Pulse, which could corrode it away.
And sometimes you might even choose to sacrifice your own tool for a bigger strategic advantage, sending it to the junkyard as part of another card's cost or effect.
And this is where some Titans really shine. Take Printheon, for example. This Titan loves seeing tools hit the junkyard.
It might allow Printheon to recur them, bring them back to hand, or even gain bonus effects.
Or Nullspore, who might get stronger or trigger abilities when tools are junked. Suddenly, losing a tool isn't just a loss, it's an opportunity.
Turning scrap into strategy. I like it. What about larger battlefield elements?
That brings us to destroyed structures. Structures are your emplacements, your field-defining cards.
They have what's called ST, or structure threshold. If that ST gets reduced to 0, either through direct battle damage or card effects, they're junkyarded.
So if your opponent is hammering your automated sentry post with their Titan, or uses a Scorch card effect that just burns it down, it's headed for the heap.
This could also happen from zone effects like the red mesh zone slowly corroding everything within it.
Precisely. And this constant cycle of building and destruction is central to the game's flow. Next up, completed tasks.
Ah, tasks. These are like ongoing objectives or missions you play that provide benefits over time. How do they end up junkyarded?
Usually after a task has progressed through all its turns, typically 3. Or if it's completed by some alternate means specific to the card. It's considered fulfilled.
And its final destination? The junkyard.
Though, there are some interesting alternatives here too, right? Some tasks might flip to reveal a completed side with a persistent effect.
Or there's an optional format rule about archiving them in a divine ledger.
That's a bit more advanced. But yes. For the standard flow, though completing a task means it hits the junkyard.
And the strategic note here is crucial. Each completed task contributes to your Ascension tracker. So even though the card itself is junkyarded, its legacy, its contribution to your ultimate win condition, persists.
A testament to its service, even in the junkyard. That's pretty thematic. What else gets tossed?
Think about those sneaky reactive cards, expired bait or cast cards.
Bait cards are essentially traps you set in your support zone. When your opponent triggers them, they activate, do their thing, and then they're off to the junkyard.
And cast cards? These are usually short-term burst buffs or quick effects. You play them for an immediate impact they resolve, and their duty is done. They join the growing pile in the junkyard.
Fleeting, but impactful. It's like a quick flash of brilliance, then gone.
Now, sometimes cards don't go to the junkyard because you used them, but because your opponent made them go.
We're talking about cards targeted by junkyard effects.
This is where things get more direct and aggressive. Effects like Shatter Pulse, which doesn't just damage a tool, it sends an opponent's tool directly to the junkyard. No questions asked.
Ouch. And then there are Scorch cards, which we mentioned, often specializing in structure destruction, or those persistent zone hazard triggers, like Decay or the Red Mesh, which can force cards into the junkyard turn after turn, if you're not careful.
It paints a picture of a very dynamic battlefield, where nothing is truly safe. Is there any other main way cards hit the junkyard?
There's one more worth mentioning, Overwritten Zones. This is a bit rarer, but highly tactical.
If you have a tool or a structure in a specific zone on your field, and you choose to play a new tool or structure into that same zone, the old card is typically junkyarded.
So you might sacrifice a weaker, already damaged tool in your primary tool zone, Z1, just to deploy a brand new, more powerful tool right in the middle of a battle, a strategic replacement.
Exactly. It's about making those tough calls, for tempo or advantage.
You know, all these ways cards end up in the junkyard. It really emphasizes how active each turn can be.
It's true. Every Titan turn, draw,
Charge,
building,
act,
clash,
end. 6 steps, infinite ways to forge your victory.
and the chance to interact with that ever-present junkyard.
So we've established how cards get to the junkyard. But you said it's an engine B. That implies it does something more than just collect used cards.
Let's talk about those mechanical synergies.
Absolutely. This is where the junkyard transforms from a passive discard pile into an active resource. First up, the obvious one for a place called the junkyard: Salvage.
Makes sense. Salvage mechanics allow you to return junkyarded tools, or even weave cards, back to your hand, or sometimes directly back onto the board.
We mentioned Printheon earlier. This Titan is a master of salvage, pulling valuable assets back from the brink. It's the ultimate recycling program.
Then there's Scavenge. This mechanic often reduces the cost of playing a card, or grants you a bonus effect if a tool was junkyarded earlier that turn.
So if one of your tools gets destroyed, a Scavenge card in your hand might suddenly become cheaper to play. Or its effect becomes more potent.
It's about capitalizing on what appears to be a loss, turning misfortune into opportunity.
Then things can get a bit more ethereal with resonance.
These are effects that might copy or reactivate the ability of the last card that was junkyarded.
Ooh, that sounds tricky. So, if a powerful weave card with an amazing effect just went to your junkyard, a resonance card could potentially let you get that effect a second time? Or interact with its traits?
Potentially, yes. It's about the lingering echo, of a card's power.
And speaking of echoes of a different sort, we have to mention Rustborn loops.
The Rustborn, the corrupted counterparts to our noble tool titans. Their mechanics often involve the junkyard, don't they?
They thrive on it. Rustborn cards often require you to junk your own cards, or benefit when cards are junkyarded, to fuel their dark powers.
Especially things like the hazardous red mesh zones, or those debilitating scorch effects. They embrace the decay and destruction that the junkyard represents.
So for some decks, actively sending their own cards to the junkyard isn't a cost. It's a core part of their strategy. They're fueling their own dark fire.
Precisely, which leads us to a really important point.
The junkyard is not just a dumping ground.
It's a design space, a tactical archive. It's tracking what has been spent, what resources have been consumed.
It's also a wellspring for what can return, what can be salvaged, recurred, or reborn.
And critically, it's a trigger. What has entered the junkyard can activate passive abilities, chain combos, or enable powerful synergies that define entire deck archetypes.
Whether you're playing an aggressive fusion-style deck, like one built around Fusio, constantly burning through resources for maximum impact,
Or a recursive salvage strategy with Printheon, meticulously rebuilding your board from discarded parts.
or even if you're embracing the entropic power of the Rustborn, using zone decay, and fueling your abilities with the cycle of destruction.
Junkyard management is absolutely integral to your deck's identity and your path to victory.
It's a constant flow of resources, a chronicle of the battle's history, and a potential source of future strength.
The junkyard isn't the end for your cards. Oftentimes, it's just a new beginning. Or perhaps, a strategic pause.
It really shows how every single element of tools and titans, even something as seemingly simple as a discard pile, is woven into the larger fabric of strategy and lore.
It's a testament to purposeful design.
And you see that purpose in every match of tools and titans. Your tradecraft unfolds in 6 simple moves:
Draw,
charge,
building,
act,
clash,
end,
simplicity for the novice,
mastery for the titan.